said, well, I want to know the results. I feel great about my prospects for victory. I know everybody in the district. We're going to win this thing. There was dead silence on the other end of the phone. They said, Clint, you just can't pull off this election. Our polling only has your name identification at 18%. And of that 18%, 48% are voting against you, and only 18% are voting for you. You're not going to win this election. And I thought of the individuals in my life who had invested in me along the way. My parents, my wife Janice, neighbors walking down the street who were encouraging me and saying they were praying for me, volunteers who had spent so many hours canvassing, calling, and mailing on my behalf. They had all taken a leap of faith with that campaign that I had run in 2002. I talked with Janice and realized that we had to keep going. So I kept knocking on doors through a cold election day in November, and the first election results came in early that evening. We were losing by 300 votes. So we waited, and we waited, and at midnight, we won that election by 67 votes out of 14,000 cast. Now, 6 years later, I'm serving as your state treasurer. And I'm a little biased, but on your first election night, when you're down by 300 votes for most of the evening, and you come up and you end up with 67 ahead at midnight, you develop an immense appreciation for the difference that one person can make. You develop an immense appreciation for the power of small investments and understanding how to climb toward your goals. Each of you in this room has that same power and ability in your own lives and in the world around you. Giving to charity, competing in school activities, working hard, finding ways to help others, gives you that foundation to grow. It's about being the best person that you can be here and now. I've worked to implement that same approach in my administration on a day-to-day basis, that basic idea that we can all make a difference in society. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. You know, we had two basic goals. The number one job was to do all of our core competencies with excellence every single day. But the second was to have a larger impact on public policy in our state, to use the power of my administration to shape policy, to change people's lives. That core function first meant protecting taxpayer dollars, keeping them safe and sound during a very uncertain period. I protected our $3.6 billion portfolio, updated our investment policy to protect taxpayers in a new world of finance, and we retooled how we think about and manage risk. We actually strengthened Missouri's fiscal position during difficult times. But those core functions also meant modernizing my administration, using technology, doing more with less, developing partnerships to help Missourians afford college. We've helped Missourians save now more than $2 billion through our college savings program, touching Missourians in every corner of the state. And for the first time ever, we have a matching grant program that set aside $500,000 to help parents save for college along the way. But it's also my belief that as elected officials, we should do more than the basics. That's why we're elected. So we found ways to help children and families throughout this state. I developed an economic development strategy that paired up the assets that we invest in Missouri banks with small businesses that were trying to borrow during a very difficult environment. When we took office, there were only 100 lenders across the state of Missouri using the Missouri Link Deposit Program. I rededicated staff, we passed sweeping legislation, we reached out to community lenders, and within 2 years, we now have 300 community banks using that program on a day-to-day basis. We've lent out $1 billion in small business and farm loans, touching every corner of Missouri. That responsibility also means caring for our most vulnerable in society, our veterans, our children in foster care, and our fellow citizens that suffer from mental illness. We've now built 700 units of housing that pair supportive services with bricks and mortar housing, giving individuals an opportunity for growth, recovery, and one-day independence. And we did this by making government work smarter and work better, and it didn't cost an extra penny of taxpayer dollars. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I know that a long-term investment in getting young people thinking about public service is one of the most important investments that we can make as a society. It's going to take young leaders from both parties to help us turn the corner in this country and our state to develop consensus and bring citizens together. You know, the gamesmanship that we often see, governing without any sense of responsibility, both Democrats and Republicans do it. It takes away from the real conversations that we have, not just as a party, but as a state. How do we make our elementary and secondary educational system as dynamic as possible, developing new ways to approach learning, training and recruiting teachers, rewarding them to help our kids compete in a global economy? How do we lead on transportation, whether it be air, rail, public systems, or highways, so that a state in the middle of the United States can develop a lasting competitive advantage? How do we achieve excellence in public higher education through research and teaching and economic development, but also ensure that a new generation of first-generation college students have opportunity to attend college too? And how do we think creatively about entrepreneurialism in Missouri, developing ideas that don't just react to current needs, but drive a culture in this state of capital and risk-taking that positions Missouri as a leader for people in growth, investment, and ultimately jobs? The opportunity cost of that status quo debate, the gamesmanship, is huge because we miss the issues that matter the most. You know, I work a great deal with numbers on a day-to-day basis as your state treasurer. I can't predict, though, with certainty what the stock market will be tomorrow, what interest rates will be, or a variety of other economic and jobs data. But I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Missouri's ability to grow its population, grow its state product, increase its relevance in the world, create jobs and opportunity for all is based on education, transportation, and entrepreneurialism. And we cannot be locked into a box doing things the same old way on those issues. It's not enough. We have to be willing to challenge orthodoxy and try new ways of approaching things. This is how all of our political involvement should be judged. What are we doing to transform and compete for the long term? And not just scoring a victory here or there, but truly moving the needle. We have to work with the same sense of energy, urgency, and focus that Missourians do every day. In April, I toured my hometown after a tornado ran through my old district and met with the owner of an optical shop, a business owner there, who in a few minutes' time lost much of what he had built up over the previous 2 decades. But he was remarkably calm even after being up most of that night and was actually telling me stories about the first weekend that they opened that optical shop. His daughter, who is now close to being my age, was out in the street with a sign that was encouraging people driving down the street to come by her dad's new optical shop, that they were starting the business for the first time. And he was smiling big as he was telling that story. And it was remarkable that in the midst of losing his business in just a few minutes, he is quietly putting one foot in front of the other, telling me how he was going to rebuild, finding a pathway forward. They deserve no less from us. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight with you. Have a great week.